It was really bad. And I was just like, I'm facing death. This is what dying is going to feel like, and in that moment, God spoke again. Are you ready? Like, are you done? Are you done with this?
So you're sick, you're not sure you're gonna live. Is it game over?
Find out on this episode of LED Live.
Welcome everyone to another episode of LED Live. We're so glad that you could join us today. And today we have another guest. We have a guest who was, we could say a little bit involved in video games, or maybe a lot involved in video games. Today we have Jonathan Bell with us today. So Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. It's been exciting being here with you guys. We're gonna talk.
All right.
We're gonna talk today.
I heard not only in video games, were you a champion in video games?
I did win some tournaments.
Wow. All right, I'm sure you're gonna get into that.
So when you say tournaments, like what are we talking? Like those EA Sports arena looking things?
So I was involved in some of the local scenes here in Tennessee. So we will go and it'll be a good decent amount of people. We will join in and we'll compete against each other.
So I'm always curious, like, do you get paid to do that?
Yeah. So it's paid tournaments. So it's
so if you win,
so
you win money,
you win
obviously.
money.
But do you win anything? Do you get paid if you don't win?
No. So if you don't win, you go for So it's a go for broke mentality basically.
Yeah. But do you have sponsorships and stuff that like pay for? They give you the consoles and they
so,
give you the games.
So sometimes it depends because you basically are like a marketing tool. So if they see that you are being very successful and you can pull a lot of people to come watch you and you're performing well, then the sponsor starts to reel in and hey, we'll accommodate you, we'll pay for this and that just to.
So you can play our game.
You can play our game.
Wow.
Basically. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I watched a video on the guy Ninja, the blue hair guy.
Yes.
And dude, he makes millions of dollars, and that doesn't include. He's like the underwear I wear is sponsored. While he's playing the game, Uber Eats, everything's free.
Hopefully he doesn't play in his underwear. It's like the commercial.
Oh, probably. Hip up.
It's amazing that just to play video games, you can get free stuff and get paid for it. I mean, that was a dream of mine as a kid.
But
that's the enticing thing from a lot of people. It's just that
But it's got to be like anything, right? It's like there's 1% of people that probably make a living at it. And probably 1% of that 1% makes $1 million and above, right? I mean, you think of all the people that play video games, and that's millions of people. But you hear about the, 6 guys that are making millions on YouTube.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wasn't as grandiose as these guys, but I was very much involved in what they call the FGC, which is the fighting game community. So I was in there. So I saw some things.
What was your favorite game?
Street Fighter V, I think. Or Street Fighter in general was my favorite series out of all.
Yeah. Now you look really young to me. So were you around when Street Fighter first started coming out? It was a popular game when I was a kid.
Yeah, it was.
But you look a lot younger than me, so I don't know.
Well, I'm 34.
Okay, you're a lot younger than us.
Yeah. So I was when Street Fighter first came out, but I didn't get into fighting games off the bat. Like I was introduced to it as I started picking up, playing video games and things like that.
First?
So let's
let's back up.
Let's back up and
backtrack. I mean,
how old did this start?
I had to been around probably 4, 5 years old.
Okay.
I actually have some screens when I was playing. If you guys would show us.
You guys can see some of these.
So that's what you mean by being introduced, because a 4-year-old can't walk into a store and buy a...
Yeah, absolutely.
That's that. So
is that a Ninja Turtle outfit?
Yeah. So this is me here playing with my... No. This is actually a Sega Genesis, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not even sure your feet are touching the floor from the chair.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was a controller. That's
No. So this is... I don't know if you guys ever heard the stories or the memes where... you your little brother wants to play.
Oh,
So you don't want them to disturb you from playing, so you give him a fake controller. He could think he's playing with you, but you're playing. That's exactly what's
Yeah, I was
happening.
just about to ask because,
There's no wire connected.
Wireless. Wow. You guys are advanced.
but still, as a 4-year-old, were you kind of internalizing? You were understanding what was going on. You actually thought that you were playing in this game.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing about video game. It kind of gives you like this freedom of being in this imaginary world, sort of. And a lot of people tend to like escape to it. I mean, that's the way I see it. It's like you're escaping to this world, which is not what you see around you. So it's like a different world. It's an imaginary world. And I compare it a lot with like heaven. I think that's what it is. Probably deep inside people, it's like this need of being in a different place, but then you're presented with video games.
Where you
and
can
then
escape the stress and pain and all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, here in this picture, this is actually when we lived in Dominican Republic. We couldn't afford video games at this point in our lives. My mom decided she wanted to retire very early, so she bought a house in Dominican Republic, and we moved over there. And she took me and my younger brother with her, and she left my older brother and older sister in New York, in the apartment we had in New York. And at this time, what we got into was we had these things, because the computer, we had no internet access. So we had this thing called emulators. I don't know if you guys ever heard of emulators. Yeah. So for those who don't know, so what it is basically it emulates a system. So it's a program that you put in your computer that will emulate or copy what a video game system is. So you can basically virtually have a video game system in your computer.
Gotcha. Like so you're using you're using a computer, but it's like sort of an app thing.
Yeah, basically.
Like okay.
Basically. So a friend of mine's gave me, and I remember the floppy disk. Maybe those young out there don't know what that is.
Yeah, so she doesn't know what that is.
I do.
So he gave me an emulator, a Super Nintendo emulator, and he gave me like about 100 games.
That was my favorite system.
And I put them in, I came home. That's the picture you saw earlier. And I went to town on this thing. I was just playing.
Did you have a controller? Or did you have to do it
on
with
the keyboard? On the keyboard. So I learned how to play on keyboard.
JKL.
Yeah. Right. So we did. I did that for a while. But one thing that I wanted to note is that it's very interesting. Games before had a different design than they are now. I think for the most part, before games had a beginning and an end.
Right.
So when that game is done, you put it down and you go back, unplug yourself from the real, from this virtual world. You go out, you play, I still play sports. I play basketball and all these things. But the way games are now, they're more designed to keep you there. Yeah. Now there's like, you have the online world. So now people can play online forever. You go up 2 a.m. and get connected and play against someone. And so it changes now. Now it's a more like, has a more pulling. I mean, video games are addicting, but now they're like, it's like stronger, I say. It's more fierce. Like we want you to stay here. And every design, if you speak to any software developer when it comes to like games, they're intentionally made that way. They want you to keep playing. This is why you play those mobile games and like it's so difficult to reach a certain level, and then you gotta pay to play and and get some coins to keep. It's like it's designed in a way that you have to spend here.
It's a business.
I can remember when we were kind of breaking down Fortnite. There was a couple guys that were putting videos out there and just talking about the psychology of Fortnite and why it worked. Like the fact that it was endless. They were like, look, you will never finish this game. It's like literally open-ended to the point where there's always a new skin. There's always somewhere new to destroy or whatever. And it's like the little progress bar, it never gets to the full. And, it's just, they use that psychology to keep you engaged in the game. And I remember going like, wow, this has probably got tons of very smart people designing these things because they know it translates into money the more you spend time with it.
Yeah, like he was saying, games used to be really, they were programmed a certain way. So you're like, oh, I know how to beat this enemy. I always jump on the backside and hit them or whatever. You figure out how they work. But when you're fighting with online people who are just as good as you and they're catching on to how you play and all that, and AI has gotten really good too. But yeah, you're talking about waking up every day and there's a new expansion pack, a new world. Like it never stops. Yeah.
Or multiple missions or multiple characters. You know, you think about like the game Injustice, like Gods Among Us. You could choose like, I don't even know how many, like 20, 30 characters, you know, and you could play the game from all those different perspectives if you wanted. And you think about all the worlds that are created now in games and like just the time it takes to explore that, to go from place to place. I mean, we haven't even explored our own world.
Right. Yeah, you know, you bring up an interesting point because I believe that God created this world to be endlessly explored.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure the devil's looking at that going, this is how this system operates. So if I create something that just wastes your time and it's endless, you know, it's kind of tapping into what God designed us to be like.
And you're right, because there was it's a quote that I read one time where I never forget it. It always comes to my mind, and it's about Christ being the creator of everything, right? We did not borrow anything from Christ. Christ created everything, right? So everything is made by him. What the enemy does is pervert what God has created. That's what it is. You know, so if God has something like love, he perverts it, lust, right? So that's what he does. And this is, I think video game is an expression of that. It's like, you know, he's seen heaven, right? He's been there. He know what it's like,
True.
right? So he's like, you know what? Let me introduce you guy a perverted version of this in this, you know, in this interactive world. You know, no one gets hurt. No one gets hurt. I mean, it's a peaceful, you know.
That's interesting.
Or there's no rules.
There's no rules. You know, no one.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Like Sims. You know, you
There's
just do
no
what you want.
consequences,
No consequences.
for your actions.
Or if there are rules,
Grand
hey,
Theft
we
Auto.
got a game genie, just pop it in.
Right.
Oh yeah, break
Game
it,
Genie.
open it up.
Wow.
Game Genie. That's old school.
that is old school. You know. That is.
So that's those Turtles in Time.
So
wasn't
yeah, so these were Turtles in Time was one of the games I played on that emulator. One of the ones that I spent a lot of time was Chrono Trigger. I spent a lot of time. That's again speaking of this virtual world where you go in and you're exploring and there's like multiple endings and all this other stuff. I think it's about time travel. And yeah, so it just started, you know, picking up. I'm racking up. I'm playing all these games. I was still into church, by the way, at the time. My mom was a member of the church and we was still going to church, and it just seemed innocent at the time. It just seemed like, well, it's okay. It's a hobby, right? That was my main line. It's a hobby like any other hobby. I mean, I still go outside, play basketball. I still do, you know, I got good grades and stuff. It's fun. I mean, there's nothing, you know, but it was not until I remember we went to this place in the Dominican Republic. They call it El Conde, which is basically it's like a colonial site. Like, so all these houses and stuff look very old school, you know, colonial like, and but they turn it into like a strip mall, basically. So it's like an outdoor mall, right? So my mom used to take us there every Sunday. So we walked by this place, and it was an arcade room in there. And for the first time in my life, I seen a fighting game, right? And I remember it was one of the titles you probably saw before was it was called X-Men versus Street Fighter. And I was just like blown away. I was like, what is it? Like, I remember X-Men when I was growing up. I remember those cartoons. And then I'm like, Street Fighter, I kind of have seen it before. And I'm like, in one world? I was like, wow. So I was just blown away. And you know, and I was like, Mom, please, you know, give me some coins where I could play and whatever. And we started playing, and I got so hooked on this that we would go home, me and my brother, and we will play it like ourselves. Like, we will be in our front yard acting like we're the characters from the game in our yard. And like, who are you gonna pick? I was telling him, like, I'll pick Ryu. And I'm like, who are you gonna? Okay, so, and we'll like be fake fighting. Like, that's how much of an impact that game had on us. And
Video games don't affect you though.
no,
of course.
no,
we're not saying that at all.
absolutely not. Right? But yeah, so that went on for a while. But in 2001, things changed. So there was a tragic death in our family. My older brother had passed away. He was put down by New York City police officers. So my mom felt very guilty about that. She felt like, because she had left, remember I told you guys, she had left them over there, the older ones, you know, to be in the apartment. And she felt like if she would have brought her babies with her, like this would have never happened. So she felt very guilty, and she was like, you know, I want to go back, reunite the family again, and et cetera. So we came back to the U.S. This is right before 9/11, and we had moved in there. And at my sister's house, we got into my sister's house. Well, it was my mom's house, but my sister was living there with her husband. He had a PlayStation 2. So now we're in like the PlayStation 2 era. So we went in there, and we were not allowed to play. That was the first thing. You can't touch it. It's a brand new system. We can't touch. We can only see.
Yeah.
We can only see them play. And the title that he had, I remember, was Devil May Cry 1, which should...
Isn't that an anime?
It's also an anime.
Okay.
They made an anime from the game.
But okay, so the game was first.
The game was
then
first.
the anime
Then
came.
the anime came after, yeah. Which should make any Christian
And I think
run away. You know, just the title
violent
alone.
video game, right? Or violent
Yes.
anime.
I mean,
Yes.
all the worlds are just hellish. I mean, you're constantly around by demons and everything.
Yeah, he's the son. I don't know, because I don't do these in-depth things like you guys do, but he's the son of a demon who had a child with a human, and her name was Mary. And
Why they always gotta make it about religion? Why is it always gotta be about religion?
You know, like I, you know, his hair is white like wool, and I don't know. It's just,
Interesting.
you know, I never
help us, make
thought
a
about it,
video.
but I was just like, that's interesting, you know. But yeah, so it was Devil May Cry, and I used to like, you know, play that. I mean, watch them play, and like, you know, when you like want something but you can't, and you know, it just. But time went on, and I ended up meeting the young people from church who were also into video games, right? So these people, you know, they thought nothing was wrong with it, and you know, so they're the one who reintroduced me to the fighting game genre. So this is when I started picking up on fighting game, and they were playing games like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and Street Fighter Third Strike and Super Smash Melee and Guilty Gear. So we were just picking up on all these, you know, fighting games, and you know, but at the time we were just still mashing buttons. I mean, this is what we just like, just go there and just, you know, they call them casual players, you know, just casual players, just smashing buttons. You don't know what you're doing. So we just, you know, continue playing. But then it was until I saw a video. This kind of was like where the turning point was. I saw a video. I don't know if you guys have it there.
Yeah, I have it here.
Yeah, so it's called the Daigo moment. So this is called the most impactful moment in fighting game history. So this was in a tournament where a player was pretty much down, and it was like a comeback, right? So he did a comeback, and it was just, everybody went crazy, and my mind was just like, wow, what is this? Like, I never knew there was like a technical aspect to these fighting games. Like, I just thought that you just play and mash buttons and jump around. Right. These people are playing this professionally now. So I'm just like, wait, hold on. Like, there's more depth to this? So you're telling me there's actually like A, B, Q, A. So there's, know what the numbers are. There's triangle, Q, or... No, I mean, and it goes even much more deeper. Like, there's things like calculating frames. So, you know, when you press a button, the frames for that movement to come out, and then like their plus and negatives, and it's a whole array of things that I never knew. Wow. But when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, so it's like there's more to this than just you know. So I started practicing. I started playing even more. Now I'm practicing and trying to learn and getting in depth. So what started happening is I started becoming better than my friends, and I started beating them like, you know, very easily now, to the point that nobody wanted to play with me.
See, it was people like you that made me not play video games. Because like I'd play for 2 seconds, die, and then this person would play for 2 hours, and then I'd play for 2 seconds.
You want to see that clip?
Yeah, so...
Okay.
Rare footage of Daigo actually angry.
So Daigo is the male character. Ken.
Overcome
He's fighting against Justin Wong, who's the female character. And you can kind of see the health bar. Ken is almost dead, right? So what he performs here, it's you got to see it's called a parry. So he's blocking. So the thing is here, see everybody goes crazy, and he actually defeats the person in tournament. This was the stage. So what happened there? If he would have missed time, one of those blocks, he would have been dead. So he actually parried every single move. That person did.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Something and then immediately react to it.
Oh, they train.
How many hours?
Scotty, these
exactly
people train hours and hours. It's like a gym. Like you go to the gym and they just practice over and over and over.
I'm always impressed with the human body. I mean, we are capable of so much more than I think we give ourselves credit for. To be able to see something like that, split second like that, and make those decisions over and over and over again, and actually like you're going somewhere with that. I mean, I hardly could tell what was even going on.
Yeah, they deemed him the beast after that. He was like the beast.
Hand-eye coordination.
Yeah. And it was just wow. So that's what got me like, okay, I want to do this. And then of course you see the cheering.
Yeah,
the people applauding.
I want this.
Adrenaline.
I want the praises and all these things. So, so I started getting into that. Of course, after I started getting a little bit better, nobody wanted to play with me. So,
so you have to go find people to play with.
Well, not yet because Mama would not allow us to go out. So it still was something came along that got us into it. I'll go into a little bit later, but 2005. Is when things took another turn. So it's significant because of three things. One, my son was born. So I had a child. Two, I dropped out. I flunked college. I didn't drop out. I flunked college because of a video game. Devil May Cry 3. So it was in the third one in the series.
So what do you mean you flunked because of the game? How'd that happen?
Because I would not go to school to play the game.
So you'd be up all night long playing video games.
Playing the game. And
my dad teaches at a university, and I hear this story over and over and over again. I mean, these kids are paying $20,000 to go to school, and they're literally staying up all night long and can't even function in the morning.
Yeah, I just I had to play. Wow. I had to play. And then 3 was the first time I entered a fighting game tournament, which was insignificant because the grand prize was movie tickets. But it felt good. It was like, wow, I won a tournament, and it was the grand finals. It was the last match, and it was pretty close. And
so you won it.
I won. Yeah, I won the tournament.
What was the first tournament you entered?
The first tournament I won. Wow. So that went on. But again, going back to what I was saying, nobody wanted to play with me, so I really had nobody to practice with, and nothing. So. But entered next.
I'll go easy on you, man. Come on. I'll pick my worst character.
I'll play with one eye.
So entered next was the online era. So now the dawn of PS3s and Xbox 360. I mean, people who have PC always played online, but for game consoles, this was like revolutionary. Like, wow, now you ever play online with friends across the world and stuff like that. So now I didn't need nobody to play with. Now I had, so this is when the gaming problem ranked up to 1,000. Because now I just play endlessly. Like it was just all the time.
Well, because Devil May Cry isn't even online.
No.
That caused you to stay home and flunk out of college.
Yeah.
So now you're talking about endless gaming, endless players to play with.
So you flunk out of college and you're gaming likely as much as possible. Are you working?
Yes and no. So I was jumping from job to job. I remember I got fired the first day I got hired.
The first day.
Yeah. It was an accounting job. So I had to study a little bit of accounting at a program. Like I did an accounting course, and they was gonna hire basically interns and that first day of my first interview, I fell asleep.
From being up late gaming.
Well, on your first day. Really not good on your first day.
So they hired me. They was like, oh yeah, I passed the interview process. Yeah, everything's good. And then they told me to wait. in the waiting area. They were gonna bring the paperwork to sign, and when they came back, they found me.
You were like that.
Sound asleep.
Oh wow.
It's like,
Oh.
you gotta go, buddy.
So when you're playing video games, give me a ballpark of hours. Like you're putting what 8 hours a day into this thing.
Probably more. So,
So it was a job to you
yeah.
for all intents and purposes.
Sometimes I would play till the sun was up. The sun wasn't up, we weren't done playing. And this is when the Call of Duty series came in.
Man.
Well, before you move on, like walk me through the mindset, the mentality for someone who can't even relate, doesn't understand. How can you sit at a screen and play for over 8 hours? Were you trying to progress to something? Are you training? Like, what is the mentality? What's keeping you there?
So this is how it started. So with Call of Duty, right? So when Call of Duty came on the scene, this is when I first got the PS3. Actually, my friends, they were Dominican friends, they used to call it cabecita, which means little head. And the reason why they call it that, and it's kind of gruesome if you think about it, is that when you shoot a player in the head, Call of Duty does a little symbol that looks like a little head, like bling. So it does a different sound than when you kill them any other way. The headshot. It's bling. So this is where the name came, cabecita, which is, hey, let's go play cabecita, which is little head. So when this started happening, to answer your question, it was my friends from around the neighborhood. They were all talking about it. I had no idea what this was. It was like, oh yeah, we all playing cabecita. And so I went and I bought the game, started playing with them. So it was more like a social gathering online. So they'll be in their house, everyone will be in their house, and we're all just playing online. So it was like a big hangout. So that kind of what drawed us into playing. And just like when you're hanging out, time goes by, you don't even realize, you're like, oh man, it's 4:00 in the morning. So it was like that. So that's what started, making us. But then
you're talking with headset.
Yeah, you're talking with headset, you're talking smack or whatever, and but what happened is that after a while, I realized that it wasn't just because of my friends.
Okay.
There was something pulling me to play more, because there were times where they'll be tired asleep. Like, yo, bro, I'm done. I'll see you tomorrow, man. I'm tired. And they all disconnect. I would keep playing. I would keep playing. And literally, like I said, until that sun was not up, where I would be like, whoa, the sun is up, I wouldn't turn it off.
Wow.
So it was something. There is progression, because they do things. Like I said, these software developers, when they make these games, they design them in a way to keep you playing. But with the online scene, you don't really need much. It's online. Right. So if I connect right now, I'm playing with someone. Right.
So the entering, I guess we'd call it the entering wedge into that gaming life that progressed to something else was because of the interaction. But how were your physical interactions like with the family that you were living with at the time?
So very good question. At that point in my life, my son was born. Right. So I didn't really pay attention much to my child. It's just something that I'm still paying to, like until this day. I was disconnected from everyone else. My mom would say, like, I'm talking to you, and you're like not even here, like, And at one point in our lives, we moved in together. So she was not my wife yet. She's my wife now, but my girlfriend and my son, we all moved into this house. Oh, by the way, I'm out of church at this point. I'm done with church. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I completely missed that, but I was completely in the world. It was just, I was done with church. And so we were living together, and it was a disaster. Our relationship was horrible. It was just, we was fighting, and she kept begging me to get off the game. And again, my answer.
Was she a gamer?
No.
Okay.
Ooh, so let me ask you this. What came first? Trouble with the relationships that you were having presently? Let me ask that again. Okay, so let me ask you this. What came first? The issues with the interactions you were having with the people you were living with that led you to the games? Or was it the gaming that started affecting the relationships you were having?
No, I think it was gaming. Gaming started affecting my relationship with other people.
Okay.
Because Oh, go ahead, Gabe. I'm sorry.
I mean, this brings up a really kind of interesting question. How did you have time for a relationship?
You don't. You really don't.
No, I mean, like, how are you going to get a girlfriend? Because I'm like, I mean, if you're gaming for like 10 hours a day, you're kind of got a job sometimes, like you sleep sometimes, you know, like, and eat. When do you even meet a girl?
No,
You know what I mean?
No, because, well, my girlfriend, I met her before.
Okay.
And then, you know, as I started
Gotcha.
playing more and more and more, she was like, whoa, like this guy's like not even here. He doesn't pay me attention. It's like my son will I literally will sit my son there and I'll play. And nothing here going on. Nothing.
And this is common.
Yeah.
This is not just your some kind of isolated case. I see and hear about this a lot, that gaming destroys relationships. And actually on the Fortnite video, they said that it was becoming one of the top like 5 reasons for divorce was Fortnite.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how it kind of takes over. It shifts priorities in people's lives. You met your girlfriend before you started getting addicted or playing with these games. I'm sure you found joy. You saying you were playing sports, you were in church. Then gaming came in, and it seems like all of that just became like
irrelevant.
Irrelevant, right? And now gaming is it.
Because I'm sure you didn't. You mentioned the church thing. I'm sure you didn't come to a point in your life where it's like, I don't want to go to church anymore. It was just a slow progression, and then you're like, oh wait, I haven't been to church in 2 years or whatever.
I'm too tired to go.
Yeah, I mean, it was like more like everything just started to become boring after a while. Like, you know, because this thing is exciting. You know, you're playing and it's exciting, and then church is like, you know, and the song, and it's like.
Do you feel like there was a little bit of conflict of, you know, church is kind of over here trying to tell you to like love your enemies and turn the other cheek and do good to those that hate you, and at home you're spending hours and hours like, you know, I want to take this guy out, I want to hit the headshot so I can hear the ping, you know?
Yes, and interesting you asked that, because something else was opening up. You see, once you open the window to one thing, other things start to come in. I mean, that's just how the enemy works. It's not just trying to. It's just more things starts to add on. It's like you open a floodgate. It's like, you know, just open the door, and so then after that, you know, violence started picking up. I noticed that my character was more violent. I was more like a firecracker. I expressed before, like just, you know, any little thing I'm just sparking.
Yeah, and sorry, we passed over that. You were saying that there was actually a different sound to when you killed someone with a headshot.
Yeah. So
how messed up is that? Yeah. So you're trying to achieve that. It's like, you know, the rat trying to get the prize all the time. Like a leg shot isn't enough. Somewhere in the body isn't enough. No, I need to get that headshot. Of course it's going to change. That's going to mess with you psychologically.
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely did notice my behavior I was being more violent to the point where I was even abusing my girlfriend. And there's actually been videos of people doing that, right? Like where they like hitting
Fortnite too.
Yeah,
Fortnite,
just out of the frustration, you're in a frustrated state of mind. Maybe
someone
it didn't,
comes and taps you on
maybe
the
it didn't
shoulder.
go so well or whatever. You're trying to like learn some new moves or something, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, hey, can you fold your laundry?
Yeah, if you're in the game and somebody's trying to, I don't know if this affected you outside while you're gaming or whatever, but definitely like if you're in it, you're trying to win or whatever, and somebody's, hey, can you turn the game off? You need to, that's going to make you snap.
I got a question too. I used to watch a lot of movies all the time. In fact, when my brother and my parents divorced early on, and in my father's house, we watched no movies or anything like that. But when we visit my mom, which was a couple times out of the year, it was like watch whatever we want. So we would just binge. I mean, watch 10 hours of movies and stuff. You feel like junk after that.
Absolutely.
Is that same sort of thing happening in the video game world? It's like the more time that you're spending, like, are you walking away just feeling like you just watch TV and someone beats you up all day long?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And everything takes a toll. I mean, physically, I started gaining weight. I got to a point where I weighed up to 310 pounds. You know,
Were you eating the gaming grub?
Yeah, absolutely. I was a Grubhub king, you know. But yeah, so everything just starts to take a toll. I mean, physically, mentally, and
relationally.
You know, really, everything just
spiritually.
Yeah, spiritually. I mean, I feel like that's the most important one that goes. I think that's the first one that goes out once you start engaging in these things. So, it definitely took a bad turn, and then other things started being added. Things of pornographic nature.
Yeah, because you can't just stay there. It just gets progressively
just,
worse.
it just started going downhill from there.
It's that creeping compromise that once you start like loosening here, it's like all of a sudden it's like I'm doing this over here, so what's the big deal over here?
So it makes me want to ask a question, and you don't have to answer this, but as I watched the videos that you sent me, I would notice there was this character that you always chose, and it was a female, Mika, in Street Fighter. And it made me wonder, was she chosen because you wanted to look at that character all the time? Because typically, like, she's like busting out of her clothing, hardly clothed at all. And I was like, I'm wondering, like, is there something there? And I was like, well, I could be reading into that. Or maybe you just get used to the moves of that character, so you stick with it. Maybe it's a combination of both.
Yeah, I would say it could be a combination of both. I mean, I did like the character because she was a wrestler. That's her style, is wrestling moves, and she was a very cheap character. What I mean by that is she was a character that if you didn't know what you were doing, she'll take you out really quick. So that's what they call cheap characters, But there also is a relation because the enemy works very subtle, and there is a relation because. I don't know if I could say this on the show, but one of the things I got into was hentai.
Yeah.
So
I was actually
which is cartoon
pornography. So I was going to actually ask that because it seems like, if you're focusing on a digital female fictitious character, which most women don't look like that, right? Does that just kind of wire the brain to that's what's attractive,
Yes. Porn in itself is destructive. I mean, you have people who are like secular people, like they're not religious, and they will tell you, I don't watch that. I don't want, that destroys a mind. I forgot, what was this, the ex-football player, Terry Crews?
Oh, yeah.
Terry Crews.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I don't know if he's a religious man or not. I don't think he is. But he had, pornography addiction. And he said, when he was out, he was like, that thing just destroys your mind. So if these people are saying that and they're, it's obvious there's something there, and it's I think it blows my mind how so many people go by and think like it's nothing. It's just like watching another movie,
right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say for me, it was probably a combination. Like that's one thing you can see in video games. For one, a lot of video games glamorize evil. It's always like dark and demonic and stuff, and then every female character is going to be sexualized, just the way they look, the things they wear and everything. And so me, I always pick the most demonic looking character or the chick, and that was why, like with Killer Instinct, I picked Orchid. I got really good with her, the combos and all that, and then with the second part there was Maya, which she was good too. But yeah, I would always pick either the most demonic looking ones or the girls. And yeah, I mean, anime is the same way. We've been looking at anime, and even the ones that are for kids, they make the girls look
sexualized.
With Dragon Ball, they got what's her name? What's the girl's name? Bulma, showing her panties and lifting her shirt and all that. But in like Seven Deadly Sins, which is at one point recently was the 4th most watched thing on Netflix. And every single time a female character is on frame, the camera's like panning from the bottom up, or she's in some pose where she's bent over or something. It's like, it's totally unnecessary. That somebody is drawing a person. It's not like you're talking to somebody and they just happen to be sitting a certain way. Somebody is strategically drawing a woman in those poses. Yeah.
It's purposeful. And just to add to that, what you said about, these female characters. There's one character in Street Fighter called Chun-Li, who is known for being very, I don't know what's the word.
Voluptuous.
Yes, and most of the DLC, so DLC is the downloadable content, like the extra content, like so they release like extra costumes and they make them look even more, Chun-Li is the most downloaded, almost all the time, the most downloaded DLC, costumes, and so people like not only they get these characters, they also like dressing them up in certain ways. So yeah, so Chun-Li is like almost like 9 to 1.
Yeah, it's
in
not
ratio.
Ken or Ryu.
It's just people just love getting that character and just buying all these sexy little dresses for her and stuff like that. So
I think that's a testament to how powerful God created sex. Like he created this desire for this bonding that we have, and you can just see like the devil understands that about human psychology so well that he's like, if I can take that we should be bonded together in our normal relationships, our marriage or whatever like that, and apply that to this game, you're going to come back to that game like a watering hole,
Yeah,
and this product and all that.
What took the children of Israel out, and with Balaam. He's like, well, I got an idea. I know how to get them to fall.
And those in it, I suppose, don't see how ridiculous it is, because it's a direct counter to God's ideal. God's ideal was for you to be with your wife, but instead you're staring at a screen or dressing up a character that's not even tangible, that you can't enjoy physically, when there's a human that, I'm not going to say is there to be enjoyed, but that part of the relationship is to enjoy her. And I can only imagine that's the case in a lot of people's relationships. Yeah. There are people there waiting to be enjoyed, but they prefer staring at a screen.
They call them waifus. That's what they call them. Waifu. In the anime world, that's what they call them.
I've heard that.
What's a waifu?
Your female
like a
anime,
digital wife.
Your digital wife.
Oh.
Waifu.
Wow.
Yeah, they use it a lot in the anime world.
I'm surprised you didn't hear that when you were doing anime research.
Waifu.
Yeah.
Well, I found out what a weeb was.
Weeb?
And a Furby. And,
So
or not a Furby. Furry.
you spend a lot of time doing this, and you mentioned the first tournament you entered, you won. That wasn't the last.
No.
You entered numerous ones, and you got pretty good. You played a lot of tournaments, you racked up a lot of stats, and you got pretty good. I'm not going to say you won them all, but you got pretty good. And I'm assuming you made a little bit of money here and there. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so what happened is, so everything was destroyed. So this is I guess where the just to take you how it the what's the word I'm looking for, the progression, how it went. So when I was rock bottom, right? So this is at the point in my life where I'm like, doing drugs, drinking. Now I'm being with prostitutes, and it was just rock bottom. I received a phone call, which was a heartbreaking phone call about something that had happened in the past, and I can't really go into it because I swore in secrecy, but it was really bad news, just to say the least, right? So it was really bad news, and my world shattered. Right? So I was just really, heartbroken. I was crying a lot. I was depressed, and as I mentioned to Keith before, this is the first time in my life where I actually felt alone. So now, even though I have people around me, I have my games and whatever, but I felt like empty. Like wow, like what's even real anymore? For a time, I couldn't sleep well. So I remember one day I had looked into like music to help me fall asleep, and that's where I found a song called Be Still My Soul. And I remember I listened to it, and some of the lyrics, I felt like it was talking to me, like someone was talking to me. And I remember I heard that voice that told me to pray. Right. And this is not the end. I know it sounds like I'm telling you, like, is he wrapping up? No. No. This is not your typical conversion story. So Jesus told me to pray. I remember this, and he told me to pray. And I don't know what I prayed for, but I just was just wailing and, telling him everything. And, but I felt peace afterwards. Right. So I started, going back to church and Christian walk. Even there were some attempts the enemy did to stop me from going to church. Like there was at one point where I actually got stabbed after church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like he was doing things like, you're not going back. Like I came out, I was still in my church clothes when I got, these gang members.
A church member.
No, no, no.
in your back?
No. It was some gang members, and
Okay.
I got into this altercation, and I, and they, they jumped me and, beat me up and stabbed me on the floor. But God's grace, made it. And so I started going back to church and this and reading my Bible again and all this stuff and listening to Christian music. So a lot of things I started letting go. Like I was convicted of like worldly music. Like, oh, I can't be listening to that. And certain diets, like I can't be eating that. And like I knew like God was bringing all these convictions back, and like I felt like a baby again. Studying and rediscovering this world. But I couldn't let go of video games. I kept that little one in my pocket, this little cherished little idol, just like it's okay. I mean, there's no commandment that say thou shalt not play your Xbox, right?
Right.
There's no commandment that says, don't go on Call of Duty or play, So I just kept that. That's all right. It's all right. So what happened again is as I started, kept playing, that love and this for Jesus and this whole thing started to crumble again. So this is now I'm going even deeper, because then what happened was I remembered about the professional world of fighting games, and I was like, well, maybe I could do this for money. That's what you think, like, oh, maybe I could just do this. I'm good at these games. Maybe I just get in and just started. So that's when, now fast forward to the point you brought up, where I started playing professionally.
Do you have to pay to enter in, or is it?
Yeah, so you pay for a tournament fee.
So it's like gambling almost.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, so it's like you pay a fee to go in. Depending on the group of size of people that enter the tournament, you win the pot money if you win the grand finals. Second and third place also get a percentage, but much less, of course.
How many people are you talking about?
No, I mean, depends. It depends.
10,
it could be
20.
10, 100, it could be 1,000, 2,000 players in. I mean, it just all depends, how popular that tournament is. The one they do every year, which is EVO, which is the Super Bowl of fighting game, sometimes has up to 250,000 entries, I believe.
Wow.
So
What's the purse on that?
I think I have seen about 200,000, I think. Grand prize. Yeah, so it's
hefty
if you
game right there.
And,
and
they're
then-
probably not entering unless they think they can
can win. Absolutely. Some people might go for the experience, but
I think
no.
I get lucky.
Yeah,
Are you talking
no.
about you
Most,
come to an arena, or is it
it's
online?
no, it's an arena. It's
Okay, so
literally
you're coming
like
together.
that's what they call it. Like it's like the Super Bowl of fighting game. I mean, they rent this huge place down in Las Vegas every year, and they.
Did you ever go?
I didn't get to go to EVO.
It
It was my thing. Like I was like, oh man, I wish I could go.
I don't
never
understand this world anymore. I really don't understand this world anymore. Did you see these Coliseum 80,000 people all staring at two people playing a video game, and I'm just like,
And not including those online watching as well.
Oh, yeah.
what is going on?
But those are not even the big one. I mean, fighting game is still like a niche a little bit. Like if you go into like the shooters, like Counter Strike and Fortnite and all these people is $1 million prizes. Like the grand final, you win, you get $1 million. And the amount, I think one of the tournaments, I forgot which one was it, is one of those role playing games, had more viewership than the Super Bowl. I think in 2019.
Yeah, I remember
like-
seeing that statistic.
I forgot what if I can remember the name of the game, but
And I think they were also saying EA Sports.
was it Overwatch?
They were talking about digital, or what do they call them? They call them digital sports, right? Or
yeah,
call them
esports,
athletes. They call them
esports.
athletes, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, my
Athlete
thumb
of
is
the
an
mind.
athlete, right?
Very athletic.
But this is making more money than a lot of these sports put together, which is what's nuts.
They're betting on it real hard. I mean, the gaming industry is a multi-billion-dollar
And
industry.
it's all age ranges. There's these videos I've run across that have millions of views, and it's kids, like little kids playing Roblox, and it's like, I don't know why people like watching it, but it's like a dad and his son, they're playing together, and they're they're like kind of narrating what they're doing or whatever. And I guess that's the entertaining part, is hearing their expressions or their reactions and stuff. But
So here's the world that we live in. We watch other people play video games. We watch other people watching movies, and we somehow don't have time for anything.
I don't know. It's
but you
crazy
can
world.
get paid to do it, though.
Yeah, that's
So,
nuts.
who needs a job when you can get paid to watch movies or play games, right?
That's what I'm thinking. Like, is it possible to have a balance? Like, if I were to say my job is to play video games, like I'm practicing, just like someone would practice for the Olympics. I'm practicing for this Super Bowl event to get $1 million. Would my lifestyle reflect that of someone who's addicted to this game?
Well, that's what they say, that, these people are professionals. So you have to differentiate.
You're not an addict.
You're
You're a professional.
Right.
You're not a professional, so don't play that long. Don't they still throw all those disclaimers. Don't play in front of the screen for too long. And but I mean, who really is monitoring that?
Right.
It's just
Money shouldn't be a justification for that. Yeah.
I still think it's a very strange thing, because if you look at like Michael Phelps, right? I mean, he is the most decorated athlete we have on this planet. I mean, for a long time, he's won more golds than anybody. Like added together on teams, he's won more golds. That one guy. And I saw an interview with him where he said all he wanted to do was play video games, and he was absolutely miserable. Like that wasn't happiness to him. Here he has all this money, all this stuff, all this fame, all this fortune from that, and it's like he's just escaping in the video games, and that didn't even make him happy.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy, and it is. I mean, you think you feel the excitement, and it's just like with anything. Anything that grabs that addiction, you feel like, oh, this is it. But it's really not. You have to continue doing it over and over and over. I mean, in itself, it's prepared to be addicting. That's the way I look at it. These things are just made to make you an addict. They're not made for you to play it 2 hours. And no, they're made to. I mean, I got grown folks who still hooked on Candy Crush.
Right.
They could go for days playing Candy Crush, and they can't let go. And so. But yeah, so sorry, where were we?
So
tournament.
you got it pretty good. You're in the tournaments.
Yeah, the tournament scene. Yes, thank you. So so I started entering tournaments. I played in a few states. I played in Ohio for a bit. I actually competed against some of the big names in fighting games.
Were you still married and everything?
No, I wasn't married at the time. Still, not yet.
Oh, but you're still together in a relationship.
Yes.
Even through everything.
Yeah. I mean, there were spots,
Okay.
but yeah. So I'm starting entering these tournaments. I'm playing against people like Rob TV, which is a known fighting game player. Online, I fought one of the world champion, which was Idom. Is this his name? I domination. I dominate you, basically.
Did you win?
I beat him. Yeah, I beat him. I beat him in a quick match. So I started entering these tournaments. So where my big break in tournament was, I went to they call it Thursday Night Throwdowns. That's when we had already moved to Tennessee. And first I started going to this local scene, and then from there I got connections and stuff like that, and I went to this tournament called Thursday Night Throwdown, and I won the grand finals. And it was like a close match. Again, it usually ends up being like that. It's a close match, and and everybody cheering. So that's what kind of like when I was like, okay, like this is what I'm doing now. I'm doing this, So I started opening up podcasts. I had gaming podcasts. One of them was called Nephew What Up, which I did it with my nephew, co-hosting with my nephew, and the premises was that it was like me and my nephew will get on the phone and like gossip about video games, and that was going all right. We had I had some sponsored videos. I don't know, did I send you those? No, I had some sponsored videos for these companies that make like rubber grips for the controllers. So they wanted me to sponsor them, and I mean they wanted to sponsor me, and so we had that going on. So now I'm like really invested in this, but at the same time, physically, I was not doing well. So yeah, so this is a little local place where we went to. I used to go there. They used to call me the legend. And that was the tournament, yeah.
And I'm trying to get to this part where you said, though, you weren't doing so well.
Yeah.
So that doesn't look too well.
That doesn't look too well. So gaming, this is what it is with gaming, especially fighting games. It's basically long nights, short days. So you're basically almost up all night playing, right? Because you got to get you got to get good at it. You got to practice. You got to do streaming. You got to go on Twitch. Every gamer now, especially fighting gamers, they have to go on Twitch. You have to stream because that's what gets you out there.
But why at night? Why can't it be all day?
How Twitch works is there's slots. So you guys mentioned Ninja earlier, right? Ninja has a slot. You don't want to stream when Ninja's streaming because who's going to watch you?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So what slots are available? The late nights.
Wow.
If you're a newbie, the late nights.
It's like broadcast TV.
Exactly the same.
You start out at the 4 a.m. shift, 3 a.m. shift.
So that's how it works. So it's like, I mean, there isn't no set. You can stream whenever you want to, but if you want, to grow, you got to pick and choose.
As you progress, does that time change? Like, okay, tomorrow I'm bumping it up an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends because if I'm more popular than such and such, then my viewership I can and then it also depends on the game, like what games people want to see. So if I'm playing this game and I'm more popular than this guy playing the same game, who's gonna get the viewership? I am.
Now,
right?
who's watching this stuff? Who's up in the middle of the night just watching other people play video games?
Other gamers.
So, did you watch other people
I watch other people as well.
all the time?
Yeah.
So, if you're not playing, you're watching.
If I'm not playing, I'm watching. Then that's the thing, because in the fighting game, you're always picking up on what's called tech. So tech is basically the word. How do I explain it? But it's like
technical skills.
technical. Well, exploit. That's the word. So it's each game has systems, right? When developers make them have systems that this is what you can use, this is what you can use, this is how you play, this is how you use it. Tech means exploiting those systems outside of what the developer intended it to do to get an advantage on your opponent, right? So gamers, fighting game, gamers are always trying to find new tech. So sometimes people, when they're streaming it late at night, they discover new tech. You see it, you copy it. Now you add that to your repertoire.
Doesn't it just seem like the devil's way of beating us, right? Here's the tech that God created. Here's humanity. I'm going to figure out how to break the system that he made so I can have an advantage over my opponent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Subliminal messaging and stuff like that.
You know what I mean?
I'm going to get them
I'm
through
gonna exploit their
every...
psychology. I'm going to exploit they're like this, and then I'm going to figure out how to break that thing so I can now have an advantage.
That's exactly what it is. Wow. I mean, they're violent in their nature, so I mean, you add that to the bonus. So, so streaming, I was doing podcasts, and I was gaining weight, lots of weight. Like I mentioned, I was 310 pounds at this point here. Eating late night, eating all kinds of things that I shouldn't be eating. And again, my spiritual life was shut down. At this point, I was just like not even going to church, playing on the Sabbath. That's one thing. Most tournaments are on the Sabbath. So I mean, just like, what do you do? So eventually you compromise. If you're into this, you compromise. You start playing, So I went to the hospital. I thought I was going to die that night. I remember I even, I said farewell to my son. I told him, I said, look, son, I don't think I'll make it because it was really bad. It was like, it was like a strange headache wrapping from like the back of my neck. My chest felt like I was going to have a heart attack. My chest was like up here. It was just like, I was just like, I don't think I'll make it. This is it. This is it. And I went to the hospital, and while I was in there, God spoke to me. And he told me, are you done? Like, are you done? You want to play some more? What do you want to do? You know, and I think that's God's way of letting us know, like, sometimes he just has to let you see the way you're going. You know, he's always protecting us. God is always there, because some people probably ask, like, where was Jesus? Didn't this guy had a conversion earlier, you know, a few years before, and he was, you know, praying to God, and like, where was well, Jesus was there the whole time. He never left. You know, but we keep like trying to jump out of his hand. I mean, you know, he says nothing can come out of it, but we keep trying to jump out of it. We keep trying to get out of it, and he's just, okay, all right, go ahead, take a look. Go ahead, see where you're heading to. And I think this is where I was at in my life. So,
there's a way that seems right into a man. At the end, it ends in destruction.
absolutely.
We were just reading a comment earlier where somebody was saying that they didn't want to give up the things that they enjoyed because somebody was forcing them to or something. And we're like, that's the joy of God. That's his love, that he gives us free will. You want to play the video games? I'm not going to stop you, but I'm telling you there's a better way. And I want you to come this way or whatever, but I'm not going to stop you from doing what you want to do. I mean, he's that loving that he gives us what we want, and we choose that path, even if it brings you to this. And then he's right there. He's not saying, "Nah, you already had your chance. You walked away. You chose the video games. Now he's right there. Are you ready? Are you ready to give it up?" I mean, even if you would have died in there, he was still there. Are you ready to, you know, come to me? You could have, you know, come back to him at your last dying breath. He's always there, man, waiting for his prodigal son to return.
Amen. And that's the thing. I mean, and I was in a really bad spot in this time. Like, you guys heard when the Bible speaks of when you don't clean the house, right? You guys heard that when you don't clean the house, what happens?
All the
right?
demons.
Seven more come in, right? That's exactly what happened. So when the first time, you know, God came to me and, you know, he saw and we prayed and you know, and I started making changes, I didn't clean the house. I left the little altar there in my house, because it's really what it is. It's like an altar. It's just there, and you come and you give it your worship. I mean, that's what it is. You know, and Revelation speaks to us how we worship.
Offerings, man.
Yeah,
Pay for that
money.
little costume.
You guys don't understand how many times I sold the PS4 and bought it again, and sold it and bought it again, and sold. You know, me trying to like, no, I'm gonna give it away and then buy it again.
That's a classic sign of addiction, you know.
Exactly.
Throw it away. Go dig it out of the trash. Throw it away.
So
go
many
dig it
times.
out of the trash.
Same way. So many times, just okay, just one time, just you know, hook it up. And,
Oh wait, a new game came out.
yeah,
Oh, come on.
come on. So,
Wow.
yeah. So the
So what eventually broke that cycle? This experience right here?
yes. So what broke the cycle was when I was faced with death. Like here, face to face, you can die right now. You know, because that's how I felt. I literally felt like I was going to, like, everything. I mean, my body was so. I was just. I don't know how to even explain thoroughly just how I felt. You know, like I just, like I said, crazy headaches, chest. I thought I was gonna have a heart attack. I mean, I was slurring words. It was really bad. It was really bad. And I was just like, I'm facing death. This is what dying is gonna feel like. You know, and in that moment, God spoke again. Are you ready? Like, are you done? Are you done with this? Like, how much more do you have to see to know that this is not good for you? I don't want you to go down this path. You know, so God answers right away. And right afterwards, the doctors came with all the tests and everything. And after, I think it was like 7 hours later. I think so, 6 or 7 hours later. And it was like, yeah, you're fine.
What?
I'm in the hospital.
But yeah, go home.
Fine.
Just follow up with your primary care doctor. You're good.
Oh, wow.
Say, no heart attack? No, nothing, cancer, something. I mean, give me something.
Right.
No, you're fine. I was like, interesting.
Which is unusual because hospitals are a business too. I mean, they could find something wrong with it. Just like a mechanic. I looked under there. There's something.
Yeah.
That's wow.
Yeah.
So did you stay in that path of saying I needed to make a change? Or was it like playing with your mind? You're walking out of it going, okay, did I make that up?
So-
Okay, I'm fine. I'm going to keep going.
So I went home. And I got on my knees and I started praying. And this is literally how God answered me. Be nice to your wife. I'm here confessing my sins. I'm here telling God, I'm so sorry. I know you told me to get away from these things and I didn't want to listen. And I'm sorry for doing all these wrong things and all this sin in my life. And be nice to my wife. I was like, what do I got to do with anything? It made no sense to me.
I think this thing's broken in here.
You know? But as I started walking with God and started studying and reading the Bible and coming back again, I understood what he was saying. The destruction you was doing to your life did not affect you only. It was affecting those around you.
That's right.
My son and my wife now, we're married now, said they were affecting them too. And you never realized. You thought it was just you. You thought it was just me. I'm gaming. I'm doing my thing, and I'm just out there. I'm gonna make it in the world. Like, but those things are affecting those around you. That was his answer. He said, "Be nice to your wife."
It's beautiful.
And I was like, I understand more. So after that, I gave my life to God for real this time. And on October 2020. I was baptized.
Wow, that's pretty recent.
So
recent
It's
story.
very recent.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's hard to imagine you in this state because it's like from the second you walked in here, you just have this kind, sweet,
Peaceful.
Humble. Yeah. Peaceful is an excellent word for it. You just seem like you can see it in your eyes. And it's not like that, just tore up, struggling.
oh no, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. But it's by God's grace.
Amen.
He changes us, and we don't even know how. I don't still think I am changed. I don't still think I'm, in my mind, I'm still a worthless sinner.
Yeah.
But He's the one that makes a change.
Wow.
So after you've been baptized, are you involved in a local church? Or how has your life changed since then?
So very interesting. Or good question. I'm sorry, Keith. I am involved now in the church.
Okay.
They made me director of the missionary department.
Nice.
Go work. I was like, they don't play. They don't play in Nashville. You going to work, my man. Which is good because if you don't work, what happens?
That's true.
That's right.
Man,
God made
James
us
tells
work.
us,
See, that's
you don't
God
work?
answering me.
He knows you need something to do.
yeah, exactly. So, so I'm out there. I'm spreading the word. I'm always got my little pamphlets or something to give out, and I do Lyft on the side. So,
nice.
I meet people and like, hey, here you go. And sometimes I talk to
Lyft,
them.
like driving?
Yeah,
Lyft,
Lyft
like
drive.
weights?
No, driving. I need some weights. I probably should get. Yeah. But yeah, so now I just meet people a lot, like while I'm driving, and I'm always giving out just something to people, give them something to
Bless their day.
and people, drivers, cab drivers, because I was a chauffeur in New York City. We are therapists.
Yeah.
We're mobile
Give
therapists.
us a go.
Yeah, people get in the back and they just feel the need to just tell you everything. Oh, and I broke up with such and such, and my bills, and I got kicked out, and and I feel it's a wedge, to open and give the word of God to them. So.
I hear a show coming on, Taxi Cab Evangelism.
Oh, can we do a reality show?
A reality show.
We can follow you around for a couple months.
Have you ever encountered any gamers since?
I have a gamer who's very dear to me.
Okay.
It's my nephew.
Okay.
Nephew Jason,
The one you had the podcast with.
who I actually was the one who introduced him into the gaming world, which now I see again what God said, what you do don't affect you, it affects those around you.
So how's that relationship now?
So it has changed a bit, but he does respect, my decision. I did have to have a talk with him and to apologize, for what I was doing and the way I was leading him, and I introduced him to this world. He listens to me a lot. I mean, he looks at me like father figure, and that's why he grew so close to me. But he does. He respects what I do. In fact, I love what he tells his girlfriend when his girlfriend had asked him. He's like, "Hey, what happened to your uncle?" Yeah, because we used to live in New York. So he's like, "What happened to your uncle? I haven't seen him in a while. What's going on? I don't hear you talking about him because you always used to talk about him." And he answers, he says, he's on to better things.
Wow.
That's what he says.
Wow.
That's what he tells
So he
me.
can
That's a
see.
testimony.
So, as we're kind of wrapping this up, I have one question. There might be some people like that are immersed in this gaming world. If you had one or two sentences, or even just a short amount of time, what would you say to those people that are where you were? What advice would you give somebody that's literally just checking out for 10, 12 hours out of the day?
I will say this. The first thing is that and I think I might be stealing some of the quotes that I have heard you guys say before, but video game is art. You know, it's a visual representation of what the creator is intending to put out, right? So it's meant to affect you. I mean, that's what art is, right? You guys have said this on the show before. Art is meant to affect you. And we know through God's word that things can only affect you in two ways. Either towards God
That's right.
or away from God. There's no ground, there's no middle ground. The devil likes to play that a lot. He likes to make you believe that, you're neutral. No, that's not how it works. It's either towards God or away from God. So, are these video games drawing you closer to God? Or are they not? And if they're not, then you have to make a decision. So I've been through it. I lived it for decades, literally decades, but I know that if you really want to give your life to God, these things gotta go. They gotta go. They can't, you can't, what's the word? You can't have
Two masters.
You can't be between, two worlds. So
That's true.
I praise God that he was patient with me enough, right? He didn't let me die on those two almost, when I was stabbed and when I was in the hospital, he didn't let me die. And he saved me from that, but he saved me into his loving grace. So.
But there's another group of people here as well. The support system of the gamer.
Yeah.
You were in the hospital, and I'm sure you had a worried mother, you had a worried wife, a worried son. What can the people around the gamer do to help? No one wants to see their loved one get to the point of death before they'd make a change. So could you think back, was there anything that you needed to hear? Is there anything that could have been done to maybe help you along your spiritual journey?
Well, the first thing is I would say, and I guess this is more towards church, people going, or members, or support your young people. One of the things I didn't mention in the story, but one of the things that happened with me is that no one ever gave me a Bible study.
Interesting.
Throughout my whole life going to church, no one ever gave me a Bible study. They just assumed, when I used to go to church, they assumed that I was a member from another church and I would visit. Because I knew things.
Yeah.
My mom had taught me things, and I would speak like if I'm a church member, but no one had ever given me a Bible study. No one had taken the time to, hey, which probably would have helped more, and brought better convictions into my life that these things are not good for you.
Wow.
So I would say, one, pay attention to your young people. Don't think these things are innocent. My mother, I didn't went into the story again, but she made the mistake to buy me a PS2. And her thing was, it came from a sentimental background because she said she actually told me the story in front of the store. I was like, I have to hear this now, Mom. But right before buying it, she was like, well, when I was young, my parents, I always wanted a doll. And my parents never got me the doll. And even though I did good, I had good grades and I did everything good, they never bought me the doll. So I don't want to repeat that same story with you. I know you've done good, so I want to, and it sounds good, but, little did she know the evil that was going to unleash. Afterwards. So don't take it for granted. Don't think these things are innocent. Study. Am I gonna call every video game evil? I can't make that call. But these things have a tendency to be addicting and lead to other things.
What I'm hearing you saying is education is important, not just in the video games field, but also spiritually. When someone walks into the church, don't have any assumptions. Treat everyone like the learners that we all are.
That's one thing I appreciated in college is I had a friend who was a Baptist, and he did not leave that question to chance. Like, he knew I would identify as a Christian, but he made it a point to ask me, like, point blank, you know, do you know Jesus is your savior? And he was just like, you know, went right to it. And I think it was really cool. He didn't make an assumption about it. And so we should not make that assumption with other people.
What I think is also cool too, and what I'm hearing is not to necessarily walk in the door and be like, you shouldn't be playing video games, and I'm going to show you in the Bible why.
Yeah.
It's almost like give an understanding, let the Holy Spirit work with that person.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, it's okay to engage and talk about things because that's relevant to them too, but maybe not coming just directly at that angle, but to just say, you know, like, hey man, I want to have some Bible studies with you about, you know, a lot of other things.
Well, Jonathan, I really want to thank you for coming and sharing your story, your experience. That has been a powerful testimony, and I think just testimonies are powerful in general. I really like seeing how God worked in this, because God brought you to the point where he said, basically, are you over the games, or is it game over, you know, for your life? And he was willing to let you make that choice. One thing I hear coming out of this too is the aspect of how much time this absorbed in your life. You know, it comes in and it's just like a swarm, and it crowds out all these other things that you no longer have time for. You don't have time for relationships. You don't have time for the circle of friends around you. You don't have time for sometimes even a job, you know. All these things got crowded out, and that's one thing that I like to talk about a lot is the time aspect. You know, what are we doing with our time? The book of Ephesians says that we are to redeem the time. So here we are on this planet, time is running out. What are we doing with the time that we have? And so I'd like to challenge you as an audience member. You may have never been into video games. You may have never had that kind of addiction. There may be other things in your life. What are you doing with your time on this planet? How are you treating the people around you? Are you spending time with them? Are you spending time with your family, your children, your friends? Do they know that you care about them? And how are you showing that? So if you find yourself in that spot, if you find yourself addicted to something, God can bring you out of that, just like he did in Jonathan's life. And so we just want to encourage you to cry out to God. Ask him to show himself to be real to you, and he definitely will. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you again for joining us, and we will catch you next time on LED Live.
Amen.
I love it. I mean, I can't watch enough of it.
The duelist who they say can speak with the spirits.
The sins will destroy the commandments forever.
A suspicious list of names prompts an investigation at a local school and concern from parents.
The Death Note is derived from a Japanese animated show.
The girl told authorities she got the idea from a Cartoon Network show.
Mom, it's Mr. Satan. I recognize that voice anywhere.